Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 Alton Planning Board. My name is Bill O'Neill. I'm the chairman.
Doug Brown?
Roger Sample.
Tom Divney.
Christine O'Brien.
And Nick Bonapane.
Ryan Heath.
Is everyone here? I think everyone's here, right?
Except for Tom Divine.
But we don't have any alternates. Okay, so we don't have any alternates to appoint. On the agenda before we approve it, I would just like to make a change before we approve the agenda. We have an application for Ava, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Frost, to be on the board for alternates. I would like to move that down to B, under new business 2, and B for the alternate application, so we can review it and speak with the applicant. Other than that, are there any other changes to the agenda?
I'll make a motion, we approve the Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we have continued application, case P 25-30, Prospect Mountain Survey, agent for William and Jill Duca, and Timothy and Laura Barshin, owners. So these two cases, we were looking, I have notes that we were looking at variances, right, for those, Paul?
So we already got variances. This is Duca, right?
The Duca one, yeah, the first
So
one.
we already got variances for the Marriott Drive lot.
Yep.
Then it was discussed about because of the driveway
Yep.
location. So he accesses both of these lots from Marriott Drive. He does have another access on, what's that road?
Jewett Farm Road.
No, it's not on Jewett Farm.
Courtyard
His
Circle.
legal,
Courtyard Circle.
Courtyard Circle. His legal frontage is Jewett Farm Road,
Yeah, that's the.
but his access is off of the other road. But he does access through Marriott Drive also, which we do have variances for.
Okay.
If he was going to his house, what road would he take? Jewett Farm or Marriott?
Marriott.
Now, all these are all houses on here, aren't they?
On Marriott,
On this lot, on this big lot here. Isn't
those are just trailers.
Right.
There used to be a campground years ago before he
Yeah, that's
bought
what I
it.
thought, yeah, I thought it was a campground,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And then the town was taxing them for every trailer, so he took them out. But now it's just the cabins
Okay.
and his own trailer.
So I thought he doesn't access, is it access
He
to
can.
Courtyard Circle?
He can.
He can, okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
there are some drainage problems from what the town did, and that's washed out a few times on him. He's had to
Okay.
fill that in a few times. So he comes in on Marriott.
Okay. And you got the variances?
No, we would have to go get that.
Okay, so-
And that's why we're asking for a conditional
ahead.
approval upon getting that variance.
I'll let Ryan. Go
So
ahead.
just to explain a little bit further, the scenario where we're at tonight, this application, like I said, you guys already reviewed. Sorry, does that work now?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So where we're at, in my understanding is the board did look at the application. There were waivers that were already granted in the last meeting before the continuance. And as Paul had stated here tonight, that they obtained waivers for the other portion of this lot
The
line
Marriott
adjustment,
Drive
the
lot.
Marriott Drive portion, which is the roadway. The existing drive where the gentleman accesses his lot is off of Marriott, it's always been there. But the fact that they're doing a lot line adjustment in that area, technically by our regulations, creates a new lot because we're moving that boundary line. And because they need 50 feet of frontage, it's just short of the 50 feet, so the legal frontage is on Jewett Farm, which is 75 feet.
This right here.
Right.
Okay.
But he still has his access off the other side, so it was determined that a second variance would be required to the section requiring driveway access from the legal frontage
Okay, here,
here.
okay. All right.
So that's the hang-up with the variance, but like I said, they had already received one instead of going back and forth. It's at the board's pleasure. If they want to look at this, make sure there are no other issues, and possibly approve it with the condition
Of a variance.
of a variance for driveway on area other than the legal frontage.
Okay. All right, so we'd have to. Add that, we wanted to do it. Oops, sorry. Any discussion from the board or any questions or?
Basically, this just hinges on a variance from the ZBA.
And are they supposed to hear it at the next ZBA meeting? You know,
When is the next meeting?
are they supposed to?
We are on that.
You are.
But the idea is not to have to come back here again.
Right.
Right, and that's why, like, we can make it number 8 as a condition precedent, you know, and approve it tonight, and as long as and it'll go through as long as he gets the variance. That's okay with you guys?
Well, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, so just, Raj, if you could make the official,
Well, I motion that we move this and, what do you call it, approve it, condition on they get the variance from the ZBA.
yeah, and with all conditions and subsequent
Yeah.
conditions precedent.
Exactly.
Okay, and Nick, you seconded it? Any further discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. And so, and then the next one. And then we have next case, P25-33, City Prospect Mountain Survey, Paul Zuzgo, agent for Robert and Joanna Morehouse, owners, 105 Bay Hill Road. This is the same, it was continued from last month. I think same issue, right?
Yes,
Similar?
yes, if you want, so the issue with this case was at the time, Paul had brought this in front of the ZBA. The issue is a shared driveway with a new lot creation off of it, so it would service 3 residents. They did receive a variance for the fact that the driveway is not on the legal frontage. It's a existing shared driveway. They obtained that during the conversation. There was a discussion and recognition that there are 3 buildings off that shared driveway. Unfortunately, they did not formally grant a variance to the definition of driveway. The definition of driveway, both in our highway regs and our zoning regs, specifies that it is a driveway or an access that services less than 3 structures. Because this is 3, it's a housekeeping issue. So in this particular situation, again, it's similar to the other continuance. We're trying to clean up the record. If the board, sees fit to approve it with the condition of getting a variance to the driveway, the applicant, or the agent, I should say, Paul, has already taken on one hurdle where the Board of Selectmen at our last scheduled meeting did grant permission for a shared driveway for 3 residences, which would be in our highway ordinance, highway regulations for the driveway, so they did grant that permission. So they have received all of those. It would just be the final housekeeping item at zoning, which they're on the agenda for next meeting.
So the third property, that's Carl Helene there, right? That's the third.
I'm
third
sorry.
driveway? Third driveway is Helene?
Out back.
Out back.
Out back,
So that-
yeah,
that
yeah,
is
yeah,
the third one.
yeah. They're only road frontage on 28.
Right, but he uses this driveway.
Correct.
So that's the third
Yep.
person.
Correct. Well, we're creating the third one. He was already there.
What is, well, I see two.
See, we
that-
cut the lot that's on Bay Hill, that's the new lot.
Oh, this was all one lot before, and so creating the third one?
Right.
So Ryan, just to clarify, the selectmen did approve 3 residents
Correct.
for a private drive.
Yes, they did.
But there's already 3 houses there, right? And they're just.
No, we created a new lot, and that put the third. So when I created that third lot, it cut off the main lot's road frontage on Bay Hill. But he still had road frontage on 28, but there's no way DOT is going to grant him a driveway permit. So that created the third lot. It's-
So did we do the subdivision? And we created the 3 lots?
No, you created 2 lots years ago,
Oh,
yeah.
so when I say.
Well,
create-
years and years ago, you created the lot in the back too, which created the one in the back and then the one in the front. Then they came in and subdivided the one on the corner into 2 lots, right? Which gave Morehouse frontage on 28 and on Bay Hill. And then the shared driveway was in between. So I've come in now and created a lot off of Bay Hill, which cut off his frontage on Bay Hill, which required the variance for a driveway not on his legal frontage. So instead of, I mean, we could have just kept that driveway, just 2 residences, but why put another driveway right next to one? And then that lot's only going to use that driveway for 150 feet.
So what's the decision here? Is this another one that?
We
gets-
could do it, yeah, we
Yeah.
could make a conditions precedent on a variance to, as long as they get a variance.
Definition of a
Oh,
driveway.
definition, this is the one.
That just the definition of a driveway.
D5-33, conditionally on them getting the proper variance verbiage and conditions precedent and subsequent.
I'll second that as well.
All right, any further, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. So next one is a design review. So this is not for completeness or anything. We're just gonna, this is P 2601, Jones and Beach Engineers Incorporated, Eric Poulin, agent for Rand Hill Realty LLC owners. Proposal to construct a self-storage facility with 2 storage buildings, including parking and utilities.
Members of the board.
Can you push the button on the mic for me?
There we go. Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Eric Poulin from Jones Beach Engineers. I'm going to start off by saying that I should be joined here this evening by Mr. Brad Jones, my friend and partner, who tragically passed away 2 weeks ago in an accident. He had a long career working in this town, was a resident here, and he'll be sorely missed. And I hope to continue this project without him. We worked together on this project, so I know all the ins and outs and workings of what we want to do here and our goals, so I'm confident I can continue this one forward without my friend, Mr. Brad Jones. What we're looking to do here is 2 storage buildings with connection to Rand Hill Road and Route 11. We have a pretty large pavement area around the buildings. The main intent there is to allow for ease of vehicle movement around the buildings and getting in and out of the buildings. You can see that on sheet C2. We're in the rural RU zone. This is over the course of 3 separate lots with a driveway that comes down and then connects to Route 11 farther south, and then the access to Rand Hill Road. It's split up into 2 separate buildings. One's 11,700 square feet. One is 9,300. We have a proposed access drive that runs along the front of the buildings. If you look on sheet C3, we've got well into our drainage design, and we have a layout here that we're going to be moving forward with. The way the design works is the buildings are keyed into the slope. The whole property slopes from Rand Hill Road down to Route 11. And our plan is to integrate the buildings into a retaining wall network on the back edge of the building along Rand Hill Road. And then with a closed drainage connection system, we're going to bring that stormwater down the access road south into a proposed bioretention, 2 proposed bioretention systems to the south of the property prior to discharge. We do have an oil water separator proposed between the 2 buildings. The intent there is we want to do some washing activities. And this will be in the aquifer zone, so we wanted to propose an oil water separator to collect those types of substances prior to getting into our treatment system. One thing we're also trying to accomplish here with our design is you can see we're bringing the main drainage trunk lines all the way down to the end of the property to the far left of the page. We're doing that to avoid the culvert that is in close proximity to bioretention pond 1 and discharge it to a culvert farther south that is not in close proximity to some of our neighbors on the other side of Route 11 and channel that water, we feel, to a more appropriate area. This is going to be designed so that post flows are at or less than pre. Our analysis up to this point has suggested that we can accomplish that. We're using swales and plunge pools along Rand Hill Road to collect some of that drainage that's running down Rand Hill Road. We're gonna grab it and bring that water through the site and then discharge it to these culverts I was speaking about earlier. Utility plan sheet C4, the next sheet. This is on-site propane tanks, on-site leach field, on-site well, and we're gonna do a drop pole along Route 11 and bring that power in to supply the two buildings. We are positioning the leach field to be outside the aquifer protection zone. We have done some preliminary test pits on the property, and my septic designer has done a preliminary layout of the leach field and is confident that we can execute a design given the data we have in hand today. Sheet P1, that just shows a profile of that access road coming through. And then we just got the basics of landscaping going on sheet L1. We're planning on doing a pylon sign at our entrance on Route 11. We'll do some basic shrubbery around that, and then just sprinkling in some landscaping trees on some of the perimeter of the buildings. And, you know, we're open to adding or subtracting or moving any kind of landscaping the board feels like they need. And then lighting, we're trying to keep pretty straightforward. I think we can accomplish most of our needs with standard dark sky compliant box lighting on the building. It is a rather long access road, so we're thinking add a couple poles along the access road, especially on the connection point on Route 11 to provide some light for that. And then the remaining is detail sheets, erosion control, and then to get a view of the building, you can go to the end of the sheet, sheet A1, sheet A12, to show how the buildings are gonna look. We did get some comments as part of our design review. I just wanted to hit on just a few of those. So we are planning on having only about 2 part-time employees. This isn't a very high employee demanding use. We have plenty of parking on site for employees and by customers. This will be by appointment only, but a pretty typical 8 through 5 p.m., 8 a.m. through 5 p.m. Hours of operation. At this point, we don't feel like we need any waivers to regulations. It doesn't appear that we have any zoning relief that will be needed. One thing that we wanted to touch on was we did get comments from the fire department. We have plenty of room for a fire truck to navigate through the property. We can certainly provide a truck turning template to prove that. The buildings are under 12,000 square feet per building. So following our research, we do not feel like direct fire suppression will be needed. But we do have good access around all buildings, and we can provide that traffic motion for the town fire truck. This will have a wetlands permit. We have a crossing. There's an existing culvert there now, but it's in really bad shape. We're gonna repair that, put a pipe in, a new pipe that'll last a long time, is sized appropriately for that, so we'll file that. We will need an NHDOT driveway permit. We will be pursuing that. And one thing we wanted to mention that came up was the access to Rand Hill Road. Our primary driveway we're anticipating using is on Route 11. And if we feel like Rand Hill should be for emergency egress only and needs to be gated, we're open to that. There was a request on here for a cut fill analysis. We're happy to do so. We are moving a decent amount of dirt. There is a pylon sign proposed on Route 11 at our driveway entrance to comply with town zoning. Conservation Commission had a couple comments. Sealing the oil water separator tank, we can do that if that's something they're looking for. We do need to visit with those folks as part of our wetlands permit process, so we will be seeing Concom and chatting about this further. Time Bond is doing a review. They had some initial comments. We're gonna get a letter from them, and we'll work with them, and have additional dialogue with those folks. One concern they had that we're looking into is the height of the retaining walls and, making sure there's not access to the roof, because they are keyed into the hill. And we feel like we can make some adjustments to the grading and the design of the buildings to make sure that there's a big enough lip, where someone wouldn't be able to just get onto the roof. One thing that may assist us a little bit is if the town is open to allowing us to do some limited grading, within the right-of-way of Rand Hill Road to help integrate into our swale system, if that's something the town would be open to. And then, reviewing these other issues, they were discussing drainage behind the retaining walls. They're pretty sizable. I think we can cut those down further in height, but they mentioned drainage behind those walls. We know we need that, but walls of this size are gonna need to be handled by a structural engineer. That's kind of their world, and I didn't want to put anything on the plan that's gonna supersede or deviate from what their plans are but those will have drainage, back drainage to get water out from behind those retaining walls. I'm confident we can integrate that into our drainage design however we need to. So that's a general overview of the project and some of the issues we had on the comment letters. And at this point, I'd open it up to comments, questions, concerns, but our goals are just try to make sure we iron out all the major components and issues. That way we can come back with a final application and hopefully address most of those major issues. Thank you.
Did
Do
you
you
say,
have an estimated foot traffic on what you think's gonna be in there per day and out of there?
Pretty light, very low, couple customers a day, I think is what we were anticipating, so traffic load.
So is this private storage, like where people have storage bays that they rent from you, or how is this?
You guys wanna?
We'd like you to come over here if you could.
so is this spans 3 lots or?
We own 3 lots of property, but everything's being built on only one of the 3 lots. The driveway does cross.
Well, that was another question that I had.
Driveway does cross.
Yeah.
So the driveway's on 3 lots?
Correct.
Yes.
yeah,
So
But
it
all,
must be a future development.
Well, right now, it's possibility we have a lot of land to work with.
Right.
Right now, this is what we're thinking of doing currently. And we feel like this is the right connection point for us. But you're right, there is a lot of land here, so we could be looking at future phases, but there's nothing in the books right now.
Does that explain why the driveway is so long then?
it also has to do with DOT. So back when we started this project several years ago, we had several conversations with DOT. They came and met us at the property as well. And there's a very large berm that runs down the front of Route 11, kind of behind the old railroad corridor is behind it. So this driveway actually runs up the old railroad corridor. It was the easiest way to get in without having to remove the berm, also provided some privacy from the neighbors across the street that now they're not looking at this big development. Instead, that's there. And that is the spot where there was an old driveway years ago. And so DOT thought it was the best plot for us to come in and access the driveway into the property.
So that was one of my questions of why you weren't merging the 3 lots together, but you're just gonna leave them as is for possibly future phases?
Yep.
So
Okay.
Correct.
this all being said, as I'm sure you know, as you've already mentioned, that Rand Hill entrance, that's got to be shrunk down, that's got to be minimized. That can't be a handy,
Yeah.
to avoid going this route, let's just go that way. That's got to be avoided.
Yeah, and we had that discussion and we felt
Yeah, I
comfortable.
mean, I know what they
Yeah.
want it for.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's what it has to be used for.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And we did talk to the fire department about it and the highway department. So we originally got a building permit to come in on that way, just to start the development process and get in there. And then we did talk with, was it Public Works or, as well, that the idea was that that could eventually be gated off, because it's not meant to be the primary access. It's meant to be more of an emergency or a back entrance if there was a need.
I'd like to get back to my original question of what
Let's say
exactly
they
is,
never
what
asked.
exactly is going in? Are these individual units that people rent from you or buy from you or?
No, it would be a rental only. It wouldn't
Rental?
be anything
Okay.
that we plan on ever selling. We're neighbors to the property and we live behind it. This is something
Okay.
that my husband has wanted to do for years, and really we're renting, I'm gonna say square footage. So you don't get a private spot, but you rent 40 feet because you wanna store your RV, or you wanna store your boat, or you wanna store your car, or you wanna put your motorcycles there. So you rent a space or by the foot storage.
is-
And it's
is-
only one level. There's no
So-
racks or anything to make the building tall.
And getting to the question of how much traffic, like what Nick brought up, is how much traffic is gonna be in there as far as like if there were, 25 units, you'd know that there would be traffic possibly of 25 individuals, and that's kind of what
What you're looking
this is
for.
what we're looking
Yeah,
for, right?
so, and I can't remember how many per building. And again, now everyone's gonna be bringing it the same day. You may have one customer that checks in on Thursday, but it sounds like it would be 50, 60 customers in the spring and 50, 60 customers in the fall, and then my husband in and out, but that would be going in and out of the property.
Essentially, this is open space inside of these
Yep.
facilities.
Yep. And that's why when I had met with Jessica, because I've had several meetings with her about how do we go about this and where did we fall within the zoning? And her conversation was, you're renting per square foot. You're renting a 40-foot by 10-foot wide square so that you put your RV there, or you put your boat there, or you put your motorcycle there. So that's why she had me do the drawings of the lines so that you would see how the inside of the buildings are laid out, meaning this is how we're putting motorized vehicles or storage things in the buildings. They would be going down those grid lines in regards to what we're renting.
Okay, so I can't rent one of these and put a mezzanine in there and
No.
put my truck in there and go in and out every day?
No.
and run a
Nope.
business?
Nope.
No.
You could call and contact them that you want to rent it for 6 months and that you're storing it, and then you'd go back in the spring or whatever your pickup date was and pick it back up. It's not meant to be living space. There is no bathroom facilities in the biggest of the building, nor is there water in the biggest of the buildings. The second building is the one that has the drainage in the floor, which is more just to clean the boats or cars or anything like that, more Gary's personal stuff.
So what you're saying is, I mean, I can't even put my boat in there on Tuesday and then go in on Friday and buff it?
No,
Once
not
it
on
goes
site.
in, it's
Nope.
in there for 6 months?
Whatever you decide to store it for. Yep. Or you may say, like, I'm coming for the summer and I'm going to stay at my family's house. I want to drop my RV off and I'll be back in the fall to take it and go back to Florida. So it would be a drop and go. It's not meant to hang
So
out. It's not.
it's not like the ones right next to it where you can go in and out anytime you want?
No, it's not those units where you bring your 6 boxes and drop them off and then next week you realize something was in that box and you need to go back and get it. I mean, obviously I'm sure there's times that would come about where someone said, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I forgot and left something. Can I come and pick it up?
I was gonna say,
But
realistically, do you think you can manage it like that?
That's how a lot of these
Well,
big
I was
storage
just gonna
facilities.
ask that. I mean,
Yeah.
you must have done some research on whether or not that,
Set it and forget it. Yeah, you don't get a workspace to come and work on your boat or your RV while it's stored for the winter. You drop it.
But in the people that are leasing space access the vehicle, or? But can they move them in and out or not, or who's gonna handle that? That's gonna be explicit in the rental agreements?
Yes, yep. Like when we have stored things in other types of these buildings before, and Gary would make an appointment, he goes and drops the boat off, and then they take care of it and leave. They're not gonna be working on their boats, they're not gonna be moving their boats on, they're gonna be dropping it off, like valet, not to the lake, but valet to a parking spot. You drop it, you leave it. If you forget something, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I needed the registration out of it or something like that, then they could call and make an appointment to come and get that, but it's not to come and hang out at the property or, set up a pop-up tent because they have a 40 by 10 square. It's a storage space.
So there's
Just-
not gonna be a key card access for every customer to come in and out?
They'll have the key card
Okay,
accesses, yeah.
okay.
Gary, you gotta use a.
Yeah. Oh.
Just for the minute.
Yeah, they would be not touching anything. It would be, because we don't need anything scratched or, and that would fall on me.
Right.
But it will be very exclusive and, there'll be people that have some very nice things in there.
But we're not looking, like you said, to have that traffic count. It's not going to be people coming in and out. It's going to be people dropping off and then coming back, maybe a month or 2 months or 6 months or a year that come and go to do that, but it's not daily traffic.
Yeah, the closest thing to like in the ITE traffic code would be self-storage, which historically have some of the lowest traffic counts in the manual. It should be pretty low traffic demand.
Okay.
Is there gonna be any sort of tree buffer between the buildings and Rand Hill for the people across the street?
So there is a section of trees along Rand Hill Road behind the building to the left that will be there. I think the main benefit of the project when it comes to our neighbors on Rand Hill Road is they're gonna be uphill of us, and we're gonna be keying into the hill on our property. So those properties, in theory, they should be looking right over the top of us. And most of the operation is gonna be recessed into the hill and kind of hidden from our neighbors on Rand Hill Road.
To build on Nick's point, also, I mean, in terms of the landscape coverage in the rural zone, 50% supposed to remain wooded or at least landscape?
Yeah, either landscaping or undisturbed.
I
We
mean,
do have,
it looks like it's less than 50% based on the site plan that I see.
we'll check it. We do have large tracts to the south that are undeveloped, which count towards that credit. All those woods go towards that.
Raise the question of 1 lot versus 3, though, too.
Right.
Right, so we're crossing all three, so we're looking at it as kind of a common scheme of development. I think if future phases go in, we'd have to keep reevaluating how much we're taking out versus keeping, and, with landscaping, it's an open discussion. Right on Route 11 with this type of use, we feel like, a couple of landscape trees around the perimeter and some nicer landscaping around the pylon sign is appropriate, but we're open, if the board feels like we need a
I
few
think,
things.
again, that's in the regs.
Yeah.
So it's something you have to
So
address.
I think,
Yeah.
as you're designing it, I think you should kind of try and get to that 50% on
Yep.
that one lot. Not,
On the lot with the structures on it,
right.
right,
And then the other ones get done as they get done.
yeah.
We also
Okay.
had a conversation too back with the state when we did all of this, and they considered, because it was all owned by the same person and it was all being part of one site, all of our numbers and disturbances counted across all 3 of them. And so
That's
that
the
was.
state,
That's the
that's not the
state.
town.
And those conversations, so we did keep that in place, hence why the berm is there as well. We're trying not to touch any of that exterior space and just focus on the area we're working. And that's also why the road goes up the old railroad corridor purposely, because we're already using what's already been disturbed versus ripping down somewhere else or pulling down the berm and putting a different driveway in. We're trying to use what's already been disturbed from the old railroad corridor.
Well, that berm has trees on it, and that's considered landscape, so I mean, that could be part of
Yep.
the 50%. So I mean,
Yep.
some of it's already,
Yep, nope, understand.
Do you know what percentage right now, based on these plans of that one lot, is green space? Do you have those figures?
I don't have the individual lot breakdown. We checked for the total
Yeah.
tract, so I'd have to look at each individual one.
Okay.
I'd encourage you to look at the single lot.
Okay.
yeah. I'd concentrate on the one that you're,
That the structures
Concentrating
are
on.
on. Right.
Yes.
Vlad, you can't. Not right now.
We'll have
We'll have
public
the-
input.
I'll open public when we're done with us. And, yeah, you guys get your chance, yep. Any other questions from the board, comments? All right, at this time, I'd like to open it up to public. We just need you to, we need a microphone for. If you guys could grab one of those microphones, because you're gonna be answering, yep. And just bring it over and that way then the public can use the other one, yep.
You just asked about the wooded area over there. Wooded area was destroyed over there. It was all woods. It was destroyed completely in 2018.
Gary, not Gary, I'm sorry. Vlad,
Yeah.
lean into the mic. They can't hear you.
Can
Okay.
you identify yourself for the record, too, please?
Oh, my name is Vladimir Serbek. I live on 447 Rand Hill Road. And, you know, I'm not against him making, making the storage over there. I mean, he's got plenty of his own boats that need to be stored, all right? But the neighbors gotta be taken in the account, you know, because it's not gonna prettify our neighborhood. Last time when he did it, he, instead of selecting login that he pulled a permit for, he selected it all. All right, there was no trees whatsoever. That lot was bare, and now what you see over there, it's just what grew up since then. All right, and it does depreciate the properties, you know, because my house at the time I was selling my house, it was appraised at 425. Then I couldn't sell it for 350. You know, I got my first offer was 400, and the realtor told me, "Hey, just wait. All right, that's just the first offer. Don't take it." And then I couldn't sell it for 350 because it was all bare. So I had to remortgage, and it got appraised at 360. And so I asked, why did you depreciate it like 65,000? All right. And he said, well, look at your curb appeal. The curb appeal for the neighbors gotta be kept. All right. There are trees that grow like crazy. You can plant few pines, like 3 rows of pines. All right, they will grow, and you won't see what's behind it. You know, it has to be in consideration. You know, they building this project, and a couple of years back, Gary told me, and you did, Gary. All right. That you don't have money, $7,500 to fix your barn across the street. You know, it's kind of, how can I trust you that we won't get screwed?
Well, that's not a conversation tonight.
Yeah,
anyway.
Oh, well, that was a question. You know what I mean? Because it is like this. We are all afraid. All right, people down below are afraid for the water. All right, people up on the Rand Hill Road are afraid for the curb appeal, because I mean, what it's going to look like. I've seen on the plans trees being planted. 3 trees I've seen planted on the plan. Usually, when you do the planting on the plan, you can see the plants. There is only 3 trees planted over there. You gotta do better than that. You gotta accommodate your neighbors, not to ruin their, not to depreciate their values. You know, when we moved in, I moved in the middle of woods. All right, look at me now. Pelonquins over here, all right, they were living in the middle of woods. All right, look at them now. All right, and those buildings are being built right across their properties. Me, I'll see it only when I'll look to the left. All right, yeah, something should be done. Right now, the access road, there was built, they built like access road that is, I don't think it's permanent. I believe it's just for the convenience to prep the lots for now, because they were preparing the lots already. All right, there is a road right next to a Rand Hill Road, like.
Well, that's not this road. That's a different road.
Yeah, I know. No, that's access road now. I hope that's gonna get demolished
Is that the
after,
road?
and.
That's not the road. Yeah, the road, this access road's down where you have it staked, correct?
Yes. Old driveway.
Uh,
guardrails, and then it kind of goes down on an angle there, and it's on some of the old 1970s survey plans. So when we went,
But it was right next to the barn. Tom Moore owned it, I believe, before. Was it? Was it? Tom Moore? Yeah. He owned it before, and he sold it to Gary. And that road was right next to the barn. Not, this one is almost perpendicular to the barn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It goes different way. Before that, before they did that selective clearing, there was no road. It was all overgrown with the trees. You know what I mean? So now, when the trees started growing back, all right, they're not there anymore. There is
Got it, right, yeah.
just a dirt road.
So what's
You
between,
guys gotta,
what's between Rand Hill and the building? Is that like 80 feet? Like, is this a scaled drawing or? Well, he'd like to see some trees between him and the buildings. So the best, I don't know, it looks like maybe 80 feet there?
oh, yes, from here down.
Yeah, between
Yeah.
the buildings and the
I
Rand
think
Hill.
we said that was 80 or 90.
Can you show it on the map up
Feet.
here,
Yeah.
please?
There is a 20-foot setback, and we do have a green strip on our side of the property. And then there's some additional line, nothing red over here. So there's some additional width there that's standing trees in the right of the Delaware Main. And then we have a 25-foot green setback between our property line and our structures, which I'm sure we could take a look at and then we can put that. Right through here. Yep.
The-
This is gonna be inaudible.
Yeah, those are active. Yeah, right now, we're not looking to manual operation plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but can you repeat what you just said?
We have 45 feet of
All right, well, before you do that, show me again where your house is, sir. Yeah,
over here. Over here, right next to here. This is all bare.
right, well, that's gonna remain there, because that lot isn't even being worked on.
I know. It was all trees.
But it's gonna stay that way, they're not,
They're not
that has nothing to do with this meeting. The only thing
Okay.
that has to do with this meeting is that area there where you see the buildings.
Yeah,
Those are two different lots. There's 3 lots there.
yeah, I understand, but I hope that we are gonna clear the trees. What I mean, so we don't have to look at industrial building, because that's not gonna look like a barn.
Well, I could see them maybe putting some trees, and I would suggest it between Rand Hill Road and those roofs, so anybody across the street didn't have to necessarily look at the roofs. But they can't cover somebody down the street that wants to look towards the buildings and put trees up so they don't have to see them.
Their property, they took it out.
That's right, it's their property, and
Right.
I know. I was told that they're supposed to keep some trees over there, so my property wouldn't be affected. It never was done. Gary told me that the logger didn't know.
well, and that's the other thing, I mean,
You
right
know,
right now, the property across from you,
Don't see it that way.
More comment just about the trees and the Rand Hill buffer. So one of the other conversations we've had, both with the town and DOT, is the amount of water that's coming off Rand Hill on the other side of the road, and it's flooding out Rand Hill quite often down
At the corner.
You know what I'm talking about?
exactly.
So it's over here, there's a culvert that runs underneath, and what's happening is it's overflowing the culvert. I'm not a water person, so I'm doing my best to describe. And then it's overflowing the street, coming across, blowing this berm out and coming across the street. So one of our other conversations was putting in some kind of drainage on the back here in that buffer area where we also would like to put some trees to help try to get some of this water that's now causing an issue on Rand Hill off and then directed back this way to then not cause more water issues for the people over here. So it's crossing our property, if that makes sense. It's not coming from our property, but when we put in a drainage system, that was also something we looked heavily into to try to encompass that into how can we solve that problem as we solve the problem of the water that we're creating on our lot. But all of that is happening up here. So wanting to make sure we create an appropriate buffer, but we also handle a water issue at the same time.
It's important to note that we're anticipating significant drainage improvements by doing this. Where water is coming across now, we're gonna grab it, channel it through properly sized culverts and pipe network systems and get them to the appropriate discharge point along Route 11, rather than let it just find its way across. And when those culverts start to hit capacity, they start jumping around and getting through. And now we're gonna have a controlled design and backed up by an analysis that we've done to improve the drainage conditions on Route 11 and Rand Hill Road.
Because that's fairly elevated on the other side of Rand Hill Road, right?
Yeah, that goes up. Yeah, it's very steep. There's a large ridge behind Rand Hill Road. All that comes down.
And you've taken that into consideration?
Yes, our analysis went all the way up to the top of the ridge. So
Good.
we could get a feel for how's this water moving through this area and what can we do to improve it.
And has Ty and Bond been involved in that discussion at all, or?
They're starting their review process. They give us some preliminary comments, and they're doing a more in-depth analysis, and we'll be working with Ty and Bond to make sure we're on the same page.
So, I mean, I was looking at the drainage structure that you had there. It didn't look very big. We must have been talking about a lot of water. Well, that's, I mean, you're not only taking care of your water, now it sounds as though you're taking care of other water.
Across the street, yeah.
Yeah, but we're also breaking it into multiple parts. So there's a pipe that comes through the two buildings. We're gonna grab that into a plunge pool, bring that through. That's a 24-inch pipe. There's also another culvert on our Rand Hill Road driveway. That's a 24-inch pipe. So we're kind of breaking it up into multiple points and then bringing it through the property, and then discharging it at the right location on Rand Hill. And then we're also providing stormwater systems, so we have 2 ponds on site, so we'll be able to provide some treatment, and also detention. So we'll be able to grab that water, release it slowly, and keep those peak flows down. So hopefully, and this is what our analysis shows, is that we're improving the flow rate coming through this area in the post condition, because we're able
So I just see 2 retentions there, but in the end, the analysis and the engineer is battling with each other. That they have to work.
Right.
Yeah, we have to make it work, and Ty and Bond's gonna do a review of our analysis and make sure that we both concur that it's working effectively.
I guess what you have in your favor is this gravel pit.
And that's all, just so I'm reading the plans right, everything from that roadway to the buildings this is all pavement?
Yeah, everything you see in that gray shading is pavement.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, let's give do you have more, mister?
No.
Okay. You just want screening. You want screening, you want some green, some trees, some,
That's all.
right? That's what you want.
I
Okay,
have nothing against him
okay,
to build it over there, all right,
Yeah.
except screening.
okay.
Be a good neighbor, basically.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's all.
Quick one. Just, so when we logged, I talked to the town, I talked to my engineer, I asked a ton of questions, and
Got permit?
we got permits, and no one told us that,
Permits to log.
yep, no one told us that there was an issue of what we were doing, and then it was he was not excited about it, which I get it, but at the same time, we did our due diligence and apparently, I just, want to
We
make sure that.
approved this at the beginning of pre-COVID, and then we went to submit our plan and the world shut down.
Right.
And so our plan had to kind of go on hold, and then we downplayed it to only what was important to us. So it started that way, and then it was supposed to continue, so it wasn't supposed to sit like that.
Okay.
But then COVID came and it kind of tied our hands, and we're like, what are we doing? And we just sat and waited, and then the building costs went crazy. And so it's just kind of been on hold
Yeah.
until now.
Okay. No, I just- anybody else from public? Anybody else have anything? Come on up.
I'm Brian Capel, 6 Boat Cove Road, Arlington Investments, right across the street. And yeah, the clear cutting over there was very unfortunate. I am relieved to see that there's a berm that's being left, and we appreciate that. It looks like the road kind of curves and comes towards Route 11, and that's right across from our driveway. And we'd appreciate some screening in there as well. There's not much there now, so some additional screening for our road would be appreciated. And then on the other side of 11, just all residential over there, and we all have wells. Maybe there's seasonal water line from the town, but most of it's wells. Very concerned about our water quality. I don't know what happens to all the water that comes off of Rand's Hill now and works its way. Does it all end up in Boat Cove? I don't know, but those are things that I have, concerns about if we're going to increase the amount of water that's coming across Route 11, just making sure it's managed
Well, I
effectively.
can tell you that this is going to stop the water from coming
Right,
across.
this is gonna make it
Any water that's
better.
coming across now
Yeah,
is going to be stopped. This has to stop the water.
but then it's going to perk down. What's that going to do to our wells? So
So
I
it's
just,
going to go through gravel. You go through Fairfield gravel, it's clean.
yeah,
So it's going to feed you well with good water.
I just want to make sure that, the pros are looking at it and not going to contaminate us. Those are my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else from public?
My name's Charlene Peliquin. I've lived on Rand Hill for 25 years, and I'm very aware of all the water issues that they have. And it's a lot. It's a lot of water. This affects me because it will be directly across the street from me. And I purchased the home and there was nothing around. Now I will probably be having coffee in the morning looking at buildings, which I really don't appreciate. But I understand that growth is needed for the town. I am very concerned about my well, okay, and my neighbor's wells across the street also. Because once you start pounding into the ground, my well is 280 feet deep. And I am worried about it, and everyone else is. I would like to make sure that I don't have to see these buildings if possible. I would like to have some trees planted. And I don't know where the entrance is going to be because I have not seen the plans, but it does affect me directly across the street. And that's all I have to say right now.
You only have one well that you're putting in on site, right? Okay. Okay.
Unfortunately, on these plans, we don't have the abutters listed.
Okay.
So
I'm 461. I'm right across the street where the buildings
is
will
that your?
be. No, that's my neighbor Vladimir. He lives up,
So you're closer, further down the street.
yeah,
Oh, so she is across. from you.
right across the street. And then one more thing, they mentioned washing boats. Now, where's all that water gonna be going to after you clean off the boat?
Into those, into the basins. It's just water.
Yeah, I know, but
Until,
Yep.
it goes through a cleaning.
Roger.
Before it gets to the.
Just C2. C2 on the map.
Has a butters on
There's the
it.
butter right there.
Dave's not even butter, he's too far down.
Lots of water issues over here, though. over
And,
there.
and it looks like they're gonna be addressing those water issues, is what it looks like. And as far as the pounding, the only pounding would be a well that you're being put in, right? There isn't gonna be any other, that
don't
you
need
know of.
blasting or hammering.
Yeah, is there ledge there or anything like that? Okay, okay. So, yeah, so the only pounding would be them putting in a new well. And it might create a little bit of sediment, and then it'll go away, you know? And, but it doesn't sound like that they're gonna be doing any blasting or anything damaging.
Yeah. I just want to know if I'm sitting in the dining room in the morning, am I going to be looking at these buildings?
Or,
What,
okay.
and to that point, what's the ridgeline height?
I believe it's 35 feet in the center. And I want to say it's on one of the
Because
plans.
the eave height is 116 inches, what I see here, which is quite a bit below, looks like that this is quite a bit smaller than the 35-foot ridge line.
Center, it was 35 or 34, and on the edges, it was like 16 or 17.
Yeah, 16-foot wall.
Oh, yeah, 30, I think it's 31 on one.
Oh, that's a
building.
16-foot,
Yeah.
isn't that 116?
Yeah, 31 in
Yeah,
the center,
The architect set baseline at 100.
like grade.
This is an arbitrary date to start from, so it's 16 feet to the eve height.
And then I think 30,
Because I was trying to figure out how you were getting motorhomes in here.
yeah. And the doors are 16 in the middle, but the bridge height is 31 feet.
So, and then there's a berm?
Between the property and and Route 11, meaning the Boat Cove people. So Rand Hill is up here, it comes down, the buildings are gonna be built downward, specifically so Rand Hill people are looking over it. And then you have the buildings, and then you have a berm, and then the road in Boat Cove is down on the other side.
From, be some landscaping there?
There would be trees or whatever
Trees.
it is that we come up with a final landscape
Okay.
plan. Yeah.
All right, so, okay.
We'll punch up that area
Right.
with screening.
And there are trees,
A bright red roof.
no bright red roofs.
Well, yeah, he's hoping to be looking at some green,
Yeah,
right?
buffer.
Some greenery, right?
And the lighting too, that's the last
Yeah.
thing.
Yep.
I mean, I like to look at the stars at night and appreciate the beauty, and everything's gonna be lit up now. So, I mean, are you gonna be dimming the lights in the evenings, you know?
We expect that.
Yeah.
hope so.
We try to get everyone to follow the dark skies.
Say we looked at the dark sky lights
Yeah.
as well
Yep.
to mitigate as much
Yeah.
additional lighting.
Okay, thank you, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from public? Go ahead. Come on up.
My name's Mike Cronin, and I own the property directly across from their property on Route 11, 390 Mount Major Highway. I'm in the center of Boat Cove. I've been here 15 years. In the first 10 years, there was little or no water come out of the state culvert that's on my property. And about 5 years ago, and how this got approved, I don't know, but Sykes put his camper up on the top of the mountain on his property. And he moved when he built the roadway, he moved all the water to a little river that's now a big river when it rains. About 5 years ago, right after he finished his project, we got a good rainstorm. My culvert, 19-inch state culvert, had little to no water coming out of it. That weekend, I had 19-inch culvert running like a fire hydrant on an old swale that was on the property before I bought it, that never really was used. The swale couldn't handle it. It washed out my whole driveway, my whole section of the property, all the way around it. But dirt up in the house, I had to get sandbags to protect my cellar filled with water. I had to sandbag it, everything. Obviously, I assumed it was Gary's property. I called Gary. There's a gentleman, he come up to look at my property. We followed the water, and it went right to Sykes' property. We contacted Mr. Sykes, and he basically told me he got a permit from you guys to do this. So I went down to Town Public Works. I ended up getting a set of drawings from Bonnie Engineering that was supposed to have a plan to control that water. You guys approved his driveway in the state. He never built that drainage system. To this day, all that water comes down sites, it travels to Gary's property. Gary was a gentleman, he didn't have to, and it probably hurt his property, but he held back that water for about a couple of weeks, and we had a dry spell. I have a couple excavators, so I brought my old excavator out there, and I built the swale stronger. I wasn't supposed to do that, it's a violation of DSS rules, because I'm on the lake. But I built a new swale to hold the water. Obviously, Gary couldn't hold the water anymore, it came back over the same way. And to this day, every time it rains heavy, that culvert is coming out like a fire hydrant. And it comes from Sykes' property. I can drive up in a rainstorm and see the river come down like a bullet. And after it rains, it takes 4 to 5 days before that culvert stops coming out with water. And it continues to come down the mountain for a guy to enjoy an RV on the top of a mountain. It's still there. You can Google this and see the RV on the top of the mountain. Right?
So this is the property on across the way on Red Hill?
I'm directly, the state culvert goes onto my property. There literally no water was on that property, even from the time, actually, one of my neighbors said, hey, clear clutch, did you get any more water? I said, no, there's like nothing if it comes out of that thing, right? So then I had to get a DSS permit anyhow. So I got a DSS permit, and to stop this water, my stone is 16 feet by 50 feet long, 8 feet deep. All right? So it's a water filter. It catches the water so it cannot go into the lake and use the swale. And I made it bigger than I should have, because I have no idea if you people continue to allow people to change properties on properties and use these swales as a dumping ground, it's just coming to my property. And as time goes on, people are going to put bigger houses and expand Rand Hill Road. That water on that Rand Hill Road comes down to me, across Gary's, and floods me. Right? Now, I'm glad Gary's doing this, and I've talked to him. He's going to make sure, he actually told me there's probably no water coming to me. And he would build the same similar stone pits if he had to, because my stone pit works. When it comes out of that culvert, and I'm telling you, it's a fire hydrant, it comes out of the culvert, it's 5 feet of water spraying out, all right? Because the drain across the street is probably 10 feet higher than my property, so it's probably a 10-foot, force coming here. That hits the stone and it's gone. It never gets past 6 feet. It just gets, obviously just goes down into this massive stone pit and it goes away. And that's what I had to do to protect my property. I had to sandbag the whole front of the house. I had to get sandbags and all kinds of things until I built that stone pit. And I feel bad for Gary because he shouldn't have to deal with this water. The town should have never let Sykes build that roadway, put a camp on the top, and dump all that water down on us. And it's only going to get worse if you keep using these swales as dumping grounds to people, because the water, someone should have said where the water's going. When it came down that property, it goes right to me. And I hate to tell you, but that pit, if I had to pay a guy, it would have cost me $50,000 or more. It's lucky I had my own equipment to do it.
So,
And I'm very upset. I'm upset at you guys, and I'm glad to be here, because I'm not blaming him. I'm upset this town to let that go on.
That's not what this is for.
I know, but I'm just telling you,
yeah.
as a planning board,
And-
you're allowing these things to go on, and I'm glad these guys are going out of their way to stop
Okay,
it.
so you're happy that they're,
I'm happy that,
Okay, all right,
anything to
thank you.
stop that
all
water.
right, thank you.
But in
Thank
the
you.
future, we need to stop having water be dumped in these swales.
Right,
Because two things, it goes to the lake, which destroys our lake, okay? That's an obvious thing. That water coming in with all those nutrients does nothing for our lake but destroy it and destroy my cove, okay?
Okay, so we're here, so again,
I'm
we're
favoring,
here.
and I'm telling you why I'm in favor of him. And the reason why I got to know Gary and he helped me was because you guys allowed someone to put a camp on the top of a mountain. And cost me,
I don't
it
recall a
cost,
case coming before us to where we had a camper on a mountain.
well, there's a
but-
camp up there. You can Google it. You
so
can Google
I-
it. That's how I found
okay.
it.
Did the guy come into the planning board so he could put a camper on top of the
I
mountain?
don't know what he did, but
So
obviously
why are
after he
you
did.
blaming us for?
So
Well,
why
I'm
you,
saying, I
but
mean,
anyway,
and then he didn't even follow
thank
these
you.
plans.
Thank you. We need to move things along, so, but
Obviously,
thank you for
I'm
your time.
upset,
No,
but-
thank you.
Right, so I'm in favor of what Gary's doing,
Okay,
because one
good.
thing, the
That's
thing
great.
first goes through it, and the
All right.
water plumb goes away, and that's my biggest beef
Great.
about water. I understand people are gonna do things with property. I also wanna
Yeah.
say something else. No matter what we ask, anyone's gonna build, someone owns that land. If you don't let Gary build this, he's gonna sell it to someone. And if he sells it to someone,
We could get a developer in here, and God knows what these guys are gonna build that don't live in the town. We could get apartments, we could get housing, we could get stuff we don't like. There's people with money that builds these things. You guys see it as much as anyone. I'm sorry, but I'll Thanks tell you for coming something. tonight. I don't like the idea of two buildings either, but I'll tell you one, it's the least item you can build on a property to affect the town. There's no cost to the housing and anything else, right?
All right,
And I'm sure it's tax bill goes up.
thank you for your time.
Sir. Because
Appreciate
I'm
it.
glad I said my piece, because I'm telling you
Glad.
something.
Okay. Anything else from public? Anybody else got anything? Okay. That being said, I'll close public. And we don't have anything else from the board, so, there is no voting or anything tonight because, it's just a design review, so thank you for your time, appreciate you guys coming in. And, sure we'll be seeing you again.
Perfect. So at this point, we'll work with, Time Bond, address all
Mhm.
comments.
Yep.
And then, we're good to file, go to that next step.
Yep.
When we address all those concerns,
I
kind
would
of factor
double
some
check
of the
on
things in.
The 50%.
Yep, got that note.
That's.
Work
if you
on the
can get past that.
landscaping and lighting.
Landscaping is,
Landscaping, lighting, work some concerns out, we'll final site
great,
when we're ready.
all right, great,
Okay.
thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, you can go through Rob.
Okay.
I'm just saying if you need feedback or
Check
contact.
that one out.
But I can still.
That's longer than I thought.
Yeah, a lot longer than that.
It's only gonna be temporary.
All right, so this is 01.
Roger, you, that trailer up on top.
All right,
I saw it.
Must have been hoops.
I think it was. That sounds like something Tom would do.
no, I'm from Manchester, I'm not from South. I grew up in New Hampshire. Grew up here. All right, so. If you guys, would you guys mind taking that out in the hallway? Just because we have a lot more on our agenda to get to. So, but feel free to head out there. Thank you. So moving on, next case is case P2602, Norway Plains Associates, Steve Oles, agent for LCW Family Trust, Scott Warner, trustee. This is a acceptance review. Map 16, lot 2647 Lindsay Road, proposal to subdivide parent lot of 40.22 acres into 3 lots of record. Parent lot being 36.16 acres, lot 26-11 being 2.15 acres, and lot 2612 being 2.038 acres. Oops, good. Bit more. I don't think we had any waivers, right?
No, I didn't see any waivers on that one.
And
This one was pretty straight.
everything was submitted, right? Okay.
You need completeness on it too?
Yeah, we need completeness, yeah, to move on to it.
I'll make a motion, we make case P26-02 is complete.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And you guys are up.
Keep going.
Hey,
Can you guys go downstairs, please?
we're all set, we completed, so.
I'm ready. Okay, Steve Oles from Norway Plains, here with Scott Warner, LCW Village Trust, Family Trust. Very simple. It's a 2-lot subdivision, actually 3-lot subdivision. The big lot stays the same, and then 2 smaller lots. Both lots are just a hair over 2 acres, with the required frontage of over 200 feet on each lot. Both lots have been reviewed by Cindy Belsius for wetlands. Test pits have been done by our office, and they meet all the requirements, frontage, lot areas, non-steep slope. Everything meets the regulations per the requirements.
Pretty straightforward, Steve. Just making those two lots on the right-hand side when you go up in Lindsay Road.
And the frontage and everything is good,
Yep.
right?
They got the 200.
All right.
There was a typo, which you guys should have the new one, but the original submittal, I have a typo on the first narrative of 135 feet, and it was actually revised to 223. So if you might, depending on which one you see,
Okay.
I had to revise it and get it back to Jesse.
Please got the state approval?
I'm sorry?
State approval?
State approval is pending.
So how do we decide if we don't know they're gonna get approval?
From the
It's
state?
gonna get approval.
You just make it contingent upon, right?
Yeah, we can make
Contingent
it-
upon state
yeah.
approval is one of the
Yep, we
contingencies.
can make it,
Yeah, I mean, as long as they're not asking for any waivers or anything,
Right,
it all
yeah,
meets the state requirements pretty easy.
Yep.
Any comments or just assessing?
I think assessing was the only comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just about lot number.
Yeah.
yep.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you got that, right, from the assessor's office?
I'm sorry?
The comments from the assessor's office, you got those, right?
I just got them when
Okay.
I walked in.
Yeah,
Okay.
just lot numbering.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, he wants to do that.
What is this area here? What? This,
These are the two lots. Those are the.
no, I know the two lots.
That's
So
the
that's
wetland.
wetland.
Yep.
What's that?
There's a wetland.
Yeah. So to the right of that, there's enough room for a driveway?
Yes.
Oh, well, wait a minute.
All this, all that.
Oh, okay, I was looking at the, yeah, that's on the bottom end, not the top. All right, I'm sorry.
You just want to make this contingent upon state approval, I suppose?
Yeah, just make it a condition.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Is there any intention to further subdivide in the future?
Any further subdivision?
In the future, any plans in,
Well, I don't know, I'm gonna be 80 soon. There's a possibility, and I was talking to,
Nice.
I can't hear anything. That's fine. All right. And maybe, in the future, but I
There
was
is
told by
a-
the town planner,
5-year, right?
5-year,
huh?
there's a 5-year period before you can further subdivide. You're aware of that?
5 years
Correct,
if I wanted to do another subdivision.
correct. That's why I
It would
asked the
have to
que-
go to it would become a major subdivision, right?
So is-
Changes the criteria.
It's just, yeah.
Oh, well, first of all, I don't know. I mean, right now, I'm just trying to surround my house and my water with people I know, which I'm doing. And,
Just making you aware that there is that 5-year
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
period, so.
that's just for your own knowledge.
so it's not 1 year, it's not 2 years.
No, it's 5 years. If you do another subdivision within the next 5 years, it changes the criteria to a different form of the subdivision.
To what?
It changes the form of the subdivision. These hearing aids don't work.
Okay.
Yeah, it's at bottom
That's
of
all right,
Walmart sign.
As long as you're aware of
As
that.
long as
so-
you're aware, right?
Yep, I'm aware.
So,
So I can't do anything else for 5
Well, you
years?
can't, it just changes.
yeah, it just,
It changes the form,
You gotta go through the state instead of.
different form.
Gets more complicated.
right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Goes from a minor to a major.
gotta go to through the
Yep,
state for
that's
that
all.
one, doesn't it?
Yep.
At the state.
Means you'll have to charge more money for the lots.
Yeah.
What's that, Roy?
Yeah.
The alteration.
Have to charge more money for the lots if you go forward, because you have to spend more money for different stuff. I'll explain it when years work.
Okay.
Where's your hearing aid, Scott?
And what, so everything, that's okay then?
Where's your hearing aid?
Now I can hear you. Keep,
No, you can't.
say it again?
No hearing aid?
Yeah, I got them in there, Roger, but
They don't work?
I got them at Walmart and they stink. Go ahead, talk to me now.
Probably get me better now.
Not really, but the buzzing stopped. Go ahead. Just speak up a little. What was the question?
Well, just that, if you decide in less than 5 years, you'll have to charge more for the lot, because it's gonna cost you more.
It's just gonna
That's
cost.
all. Biggie.
Yeah, because you have to do a little bit more, development fees. It just costs more. It costs more to design it.
Whatever, I'm just,
All right, okay.
Just,
We can move on.
go Pats.
I'll make a motion that we approve case P 2602 for a final minor subdivision for a 3-lot subdivision of property located at map 16, lot 26, 47 Lindy Road in Alton, including conditions precedent.
Yeah, we gotta open up the public,
Oh.
sorry. No, sorry to cut you off, but make sure you put the state approval in there for your motion, but before we get into that, anything from public? Any comments? Anybody have any questions? Okay.
Take it up.
Nah,
Don't have to.
We're neighbors.
Neither.
Is it Troy Neff, 61 Reed Road in Alton, so right there at the corner of Reed and Lindsay. So if I haven't looked at the map, but I'm guessing from the description, this would be like right in behind my property.
yeah, it's up by the gate.
Yeah, so, so I have almost 2.25 acres with frontage on Reed Road and then, the side
I
area.
didn't mean to interrupt you because I've been knocking at the door. You're at the house on the right-hand side as you take a left on Lincoln.
Yes.
Oh, I was trying to ask if you guys wanted to buy that, and I talked to somebody, but, anyway.
Well, I didn't get it.
Could you point it out on this side?
Yeah, because that was my original lot. I did that lot back in 1988.
Okay.
Okay.
My in-laws have the next lot over.
Okay.
So I guess part of my question is, because I know originally some of these lots were, you had a homeowners association.
Never had a homeowners
Well,
association.
it's filed with the town. It's filed with the town.
It's probably a county road.
Yeah, no, it's actually, lots on Reed Road as well are included. Those 2 lots are included in that.
Which
in that.
2 lots? The ones on Reed or the ones on?
On Reed, mine and
Yeah,
my
because you
in-laws.
have lot number 3 in the original subdivision, and then across county, and across Lindsay Road is lot 4. And they go all the way down to the corner of Reed and County, and then all the way down County.
So they're probably part of the county association.
So, yeah, but which is at this point hasn't been active, though you filed it in the 80s. So are these lots going to be counted towards that?
No, these lots are private on my land, private road. I take, you know how well I take care of that
Oh,
road.
you take I will
Yeah, I
give you
take
that, you
really
take a
good care
very
of that
good
road.
care of the road. My other concern is though, there's quite a bit of water that comes down Lindsay, and it comes right around that corner into where, the corner of my property, and it comes in and then it goes across the underneath Reed Road. That gets backed up considerably. So I just want to make sure that the drainage on Lindsay is adequate to make sure that the water flows all the way down.
I think it all comes in a swale.
It's two culverts there. One goes to the right, goes under Lindsay Road, the other one goes across, it goes under,
Who's
Reed Road.
responsible for the culvert?
And, it's never washed out in 30 years. Or 35 years.
I mean, I end up doing most of it because, you know, we had problems with it. The highway guys came by.
But you have an HOA?
Well, there's a filed form that's there, but it's not, it's
you're
not
not paying
active.
an yeah,
That's right, it's not activated because it was a lot count that
there's no
wasn't,
man-
that's right, because it was a lot count that wasn't met as of yet. So that's why the concern is all of a sudden because then all of a sudden there'd be like 14 people or 14 separate lots that all of a sudden would be impacted.
Lindsay is a
The water
private
from Lindsay
right of
Road
way?
Goes in both directions.
Yeah, but it was
Okay,
accepted.
That's the way it was built by Nancy Mayville from the state. So part of it
private
goes
It was accepted.
Reed Road, the other part goes toward the pump house, goes across and goes down Brookside
That
all
was
the time
Jesse
for
did that
38
discussion.
years,
but
40
But
years.
it's a private road.
Yeah, private.
Mm-hmm.
The highway shed guys would be responsible for that culvert on the corner of Reed Road, the one you're talking about. They would be responsible for
All
that.
they know, it was all backed up and they came by with the excavator when the year that we decided we weren't going to do any paving, we were going to do ditching. And they just looked at it and they kept right on going and I ended up having to go back out and actually dig it all out myself. So,
If you're more diligent with them, they will come out there. That's part of the crew is they're supposed to do that.
yeah, I'm just saying, I've been there
Yeah.
22 years and, you know, or so, and they've only come by once to look at it and I clean it out every spring and fall.
Okay, we'll make a note of that.
Yeah,
for
as I
Seth.
say, that should be captured. Huh?
Yep, we can capture that for Seth.
That's on Reed Road, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the town's responsibility.
Yeah, right there,
I didn't know.
right there,
Okay.
right at the corner where it comes right around the corner from Lindsay, and then it goes right underneath Reed. And it's
Well,
always
it
backed
comes
up.
down Reed Road as well. It's not all coming from Lindsay because there is.
For my side, on Reed, it's dry, but I always have to clean up around that corner.
Yeah, I
and
do
then to
too,
get-
actually.
Yeah,
For my
yeah,
tractor,
so
I
that-
clean up around the
Yeah,
corner.
so
cut the
that's
grass.
where there's a big pile of water usually.
Well, it's coming down Reed Road, so it's not coming from me. All my water's going in the tanks.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate your
All right,
sharing
thank
my
you.
concerns. Thank you.
We'll make a note to Seth.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions from public? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public. And then we can, go ahead, Doug.
Oh,
I make a
thank you very
motion.
much. Happy New Year. Oh, and did you hear about the zip line that we want to put down into the lake with the chairlift on the way back up?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay, well, talk to you about
After due hearing, I make a motion that we approve case 2602 for the final minor subdivision for 3 lots on property located at map 16, lot 26, Lindley Road in Alton, including the conditions laid out in the planner review as well as the conditions precedent, including approval of the state as well as subsequent conditions.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. You. All right. So. Oh, three. Oh, back again. So, next case, P 2603, Norway Plains Associates, Steve Bowles, agent for Christine and Joseph Perella, owners. Map 25, lot 33, 34 Baxter Place, to subdivide the parent lot of 16.6 acres into two lots of record, with the parent lot being 14.57 acres, lot 33-1 being 2.032 acres. That's fine.
No waivers?
I don't see any, you know?
No waivers?
Nope.
Did you get everything you need as far as, like, seems like
Everything as far as
the application, you got everything for the application?
the abutters and all that stuff has been verified.
Okay.
I guess it's complete.
It's complete, yeah.
I'll make a motion that we accept the submission as complete.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. You're up again.
Good evening again. Steve Bowles on behalf of Christine Perella and Joseph Perella. Christine is here with any questions you have. Simple one-lot subdivision. It's two-lot subdivision, but we're creating one new lot. The lot fronts on Route 28 and on Baxter Place Road. The lot has over 200 and plus feet on 28 and over 200 plus feet on Baxter Place Road. Wetlands were reviewed for the whole lot by Joseph Noel, and he reviewed all of it. We've located it. It's on page 1 and 2. Test pits were dug by me back in November, so we have good soils and good soils data. State subdivision is also pending. And from there, it's a simple 2-acre subdivision with frontage on 28 and Baxter Place Road.
Is it ever simple, Steve?
What's that?
I said, is it ever simple, Steve?
Yeah, Steve will have to explain to you about the only question that came up is,
The driveway, right?
is the driveway
Yeah.
access. So,
Yeah.
what's unique about the corner lot is in the stipulations of zoning, you have to have frontage on, if it's a corner lot, on both street fronts.
Yeah.
And then the concern is typically, Baxter's a class 6 road. It's a private road, not that versus frontage.
And that's where you want the driveway.
And that's where they
right?
want the
I
driveway.
prefer the driveway to be on Baxter Place Road, but I can get a DOT permit to get it on 28, but I drive 28 enough that I don't want another driveway on 28. I'd rather continue it off of Baxter Place Road. The Baxter Place Road, the whole subdivision was created back in 1955. I have a copy of the original survey plan with me. Ryan also and everybody also got a copy of it in the email, but it was originally done by E.B. Hodgson back in 1955, June and August of 1955. The plan was never recorded, but all the deeds are referencing this plan. So every single lot that created on this development before the subdivision that we're doing right now refers to this plan. This is from the original surveyor's file I have copies of. I can give a copy to the town if the town like other copies. But basically, these roads, these lots have all been created, except for the
And
one
this
we're
is it
creating
right
now,
here.
were created in the 1955 era by E.B.
This
Hodgson.
is gonna be 28 right here, right?
So this
There's
road has
Marsh,
been in
there's
effect
Marsh.
before
Yep,
this
that's
town's
true. Yeah,
subdivision
yep.
and zoning regulations.
But there's,
And
it's,
it will also meet the
doesn't
state
show.
regulations for a driveway permit if I need to come off of 28, but I prefer, like most people in this town, not to have a driveway on 28.
so you need a variance, right?
Is that a variance they need for that?
Well, if it was a pre-existing, so
So it
the
doesn't
question we
show.
came up here is it doesn't, the dimensions and what they're doing is different from what the map shows. So technically, if we go back to the way that the planning board has been operating through legal counsel, is that's the creation of a new lot. So it would be under the current regulations. It still meets all of the current regulations, and I agree with Steve in the sense, I'm familiar with the area. Having a driveway off of 28 is
It's
not a
tough
good
curve
idea.
there, too, yeah.
Not a good
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Back in the day, I think most of you that have been around for a long time will remember the original cabin used to be in that lot.
Yep.
And there was a driveway access off.
Foundation is still there,
of
buried
that.
in.
Yeah, it was knocked down not too long ago. I remember when they took it down because we had problems with kids and stuff playing in it, when I was still down in the police department, so, but I think, after talking with Steve and going through this and stuff like that, trying to work it out, and the conversations I've had with legal about this whole issue with driveways, I think to keep the file clean, that it would need to get a variance for the driveway access off of a Class 6 road. To do it as planned, as set, which I do agree is a much better situation for the town. So, depending on what the board decides to do and what your pleasure is,
Well,
this
could
could
we-
be another
could
one of
we
those
make it-
situations
yeah.
where you just approve it with that
You could okay
condition.
it and then make it contingent on you getting a variance.
Here's a question to pose before the board. Would I need a variance if I get the DOT driveway permit and just come off of Baxter Place anyways? I'll get the DOT driveway permit because it's send the paper in and we're
Then
done.
you'd have to come off, if you got the DOT permit, you'd have to come off of 28, right?
Do I have to, or can I get a building permit and come off of Baxter Place Road and skip the whole variance process, skip paying the town fee, skip everything that doesn't need to be involved with doing a variance?
What's
for this?
that? What would happen is they would, to get the building permit, it would have to come off of the legal frontage, because that's the language in the zoning ordinance, that the access comes off the legal frontage. That's the terminology that is in there. The only reason I know that is I just went through those two continued cases are all driveway accesses things, and that's the conversations that we had with legal is about the fact that it's, same thing with that Marriott case, or Marriott case,
Yeah.
is he had legal frontage on Jewett Farm Road, but he couldn't access it from there, and they had to go back and get a variance because of that subsection in the zoning regulations that says access has to be on the legal
So if
frontage.
he goes, if he goes and gets a variance, then that becomes the legal frontage?
Yes.
Okay.
And he doesn't have to come back to us,
And then
right?
you
No,
would-
Yeah, as long
no,
as
he
we
would
do
not
that
have to come back
tonight,
here.
We can make it contingent on that, I mean.
That's the other thing is, this lot, these lots have already been signed by the planning board and on record at the registry because of the boundary line adjustments that we've done on this lot over the last couple of years. So it is a legal lot of record signed by the planning board. So you can also use that as a scope of saying, look, it's already a lot, it's already signed off. The road's already been signed off by the planning board because of the two boundary line adjustments we've done in the last 2 years.
Do you think you're not gonna get a variance? Is that what you're
I
getting
just
at?
don't want to pay the variance fee, and I don't want to have to go through the whole process of waiting another month to go through the heartache of,
Yeah, but you want us to come back here if we make it contingent. We can approve it, make it contingent. You just get the variance.
that's fine, we'll go the variance route. I'm trying not to do the whole variance and pay the legal fees.
The only thing he was getting at is if you did the issue that you were talking about, going and getting the state DOT, and they approve it without any conditions, what's gonna happen down the road is whoever buys it, that's gonna fall on, because if they wanna access off Baxter, it's gonna halt the process, then they'll have to go get a variance, so, I mean, you could do it. You
No,
could-
that's fine. I was
it's-
trying to say that there's a lot of record that predates, that was signed by the planning board because the road has already been signed by the boundary line adjustments. So in reality, I could say, look, it's been signed off by the planning board because of the road, so that I can actually use that as the precedence that the road has been signed by the planning board.
Except it
on
hasn't
record.
gotten through the gauntlet here.
What's that?
It hasn't gotten approval through this submission.
The road has because of the boundary line adjustments that we did for Hernaut and Vandernaut last year.
But you don't have the approval of the subdivision.
We don't have the approval of subdivision, but the road sign off is what I'm getting at, is the road is signed off by the planning board. And it's on record. So we can skip the whole, that aspect of saying it's on a class 6 road.
Well, it sounds like
signed
you're
off
trying
by
to
the
skip
planning
a
board.
step here. I mean, aren't we here for a subdivision?
Yes,
All right. So the subdivision says that you gotta have a driveway on a town road.
that's fine.
So,
There you go.
sounds like you're already saying, well, it's already approved. Not approved. It wasn't approved in 55, because we're here to approve it tonight.
Okay.
And I'm sure the ZBA is gonna grant it, because, I mean, it does make good sense. Why put one out on the 28 when you can, safely put one there,
It's gonna take another 30 days.
No, it's just the annoyance of the zoning board process.
I mean, how much
But
is it to
it's
go to the
gonna
ZBA?
be a matter. Fine,
Yeah,
the
it's-
ZBA is gonna be in favor of that. It
Then
makes
it's, and then
perfect
it's
sense.
clean.
That's fine, we'll
Yep.
keep it clean.
Yep.
We can do a contingent
Yep.
pending state subdivision approval, pending monument set, and pending driveway approval by the zoning board for a driveway off of Baxter.
All right,
So, want me to take a stab at it?
sure.
Pitch it up.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, public.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Public.
You
I
forget
know with the
public.
full house.
Public.
Thank you for reminding me, yes. We could open it to public. Any questions or comments from public? All right, seeing none, I'll close public. Okay, you're up.
I will make a
No,
motion.
that's, yeah,
What?
go ahead.
No, we're good?
We're good. Yes, we're good.
I make a motion, we approve case P 26-03 for a final minor subdivision, with the lot being 2.032 acres. And it's gotta be, contingent upon approval for the variance from the zoning department.
driveway?
For a driveway.
Driveway. Yep.
On Baxter Place.
Well, plus the state.
And state approvals for septic.
No, state subdivision.
You said, so you just said it. State approval on subdivision. That was the last one.
I will second.
Okay,
That mess.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, and have a good night.
You too, Steve.
Wow.
For the mess. I'm throwing it and seeing what sticks.
All right, all right. Moving on. Okay. We have, next on the agenda is a approval of minutes. We have to do the, last month's minutes from, the December meeting, and we also have to approve the ones for the special meeting that we had on January 5th.
I will make a motion. Does anybody have any problem with the
Yeah.
minutes? Nothing, right? No changes? I'll make a motion. We approve the Tuesday, December 16th, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I will make a motion. We approve the special meeting on January 5th, 2026 minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
Only one detail.
Oh.
Line 14, I wasn't here, so you should strike me.
Okay.
Amended.
Amended, okay.
Strike him from line
Yeah,
14.
you weren't here, yeah. All right, so we have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that's done. So, we will move on to, under new business B, our alternate application form for, a new member as an alternate, and we have Ava, I hope I'm pronouncing it, Drost. And, no, oh, I did, oh, good, good. Good. So how, it will just, we read your application, and, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're, interested in, after sitting here tonight, do you still want to do this? Yeah, yeah.
Lots of stuff to do, so we got through that. And I've always thought about, been, and I have always thought about what I would here, that I would volunteer, so I would present different with that training. I wasn't comfortable. I planned it for 10 years. It was long. I'm not one of those planners. I'm looking ahead with the big picture. And so I've kind of come to the point where I want to do something for the town that I live in, something that would be productive, something that would give back to my community. And I thought, well, you know what, I'll get back to my planning days, and I really enjoyed that, being a planning assistant. I enjoyed, I attended all those meetings because I did the minutes and all that, and prep the packets and all that kind of stuff. And it's interesting to me, so I thought, well, let me give this a shot. I'll go to the meetings. I'll apply to be an alternate and go to the meeting and kind of refresh me. It all came back as I was sitting here listening to this. So that's kind of what brought me.
Okay. That's great. Definitely have a lot of qualifications. So how this works is it's 3 meetings consecutively you attend. So you get through your first one. So, you get through, so, by the third one, then we'll sit down, do the same thing, and then we'll have a motion and we'll, vote you on board. So does anybody on the board have any questions or? No?
Welcome to the party.
Welcome. Yeah, so we'll see you next month and yeah, just attend, and like I said, 2 more meetings and then we'll sit down and
And I actually talked to the clerk too, because I know elections, you have to sign up if you're going to get put on the.
if you want to run, you can run too. Yeah, you can do that too if you want. Yep.
Alternate, I'm not necessarily going to be a voting member all the time.
No.
Be serious about it. I'm not going to be like a fly-by-night. I'm going to show up at meetings once.
Right.
I'm,
Mhm.
and so I don't think there was any concern about if I was, I guess it would be kind of overlapping then, because it opens up tomorrow.
Right.
So
Right.
that is something that
And you can, yeah, you can run, sure,
And you can overlap it too,
yeah,
if you
yeah.
want to. Or you can run,
Yeah,
you can do your meetings as an alternate
Yeah, you can
and
still
run.
run and, yeah,
for-
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, you can do both, yep, if you want, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, most of us came on, I came on as an alternate, originally, so we all did it, just to see what's going on, and, yeah.
Gives you a chance to bail out.
It's your chance to, yeah, it's your chance to run away and, Yeah, yeah. Mm. Mm.
just because I don't really know a whole lot of people in town of Albany. Some people, but not a whole lot. So, it's interesting, and you have to be, you have to take it serious. That's my intention, and I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for, your hand up. Yeah. Thank you. Well, no, I think we're good, yeah. Thank you for coming, appreciate it. Nice meeting you too, thank you. All right, so next we have, no correspondence, no good information, no permit applications. Any other business to come before the board, from board members? Anything from public? Okay, seeing none.
Let her get away.
Make a motion for adjournment.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Did you want us to discuss adjournment? We're gonna talk.
Uh,
Who wouldn't be in favor, huh?